More than 4,000 people have been killed after two massive earthquakes rocked Türkiye and Syria on Monday. The magnitude 7.8 tremor struck the southeastern Turkish city of Kahramanmaras before sunrise in bitter winter weather. Another large one of magnitude 7.7 followed on Monday afternoon. It's been described as the worst disaster to hit country this century. Thousands of buildings were toppled across 10 Turkish cities, and more devastation was piled on millions of people in northwestern Syria, displaced by years of war. The earthquakes were also felt in neighboring Lebanon. Dozens of countries have pledged aid. The World Health Organization believes the death toll would likely rise significantly in the coming days. Michal Bardavid reports.
In the dark hours of Monday morning, Türkiye was shaken to its core. An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.8 hit the southeastern city of Kahramanmaras, with the epicenter in Pazarcık. The tremors were so powerful, 10 provinces in Türkiye and several cities in Syria were damaged. Even before rescue teams could mobilize, another large quake with a magnitude of 7.7 hit the same city, this time in the district of Elbistan. A mosque, hotel, and hospital, all among the hundreds of buildings destroyed, leaving dust and tears behind as rescue efforts continued throughout the day. More than 120 aftershocks were reported.
There are people still trapped under rubble. I have a friend living in this apartment. His children were rescued from the top floor, but only his daughter broke an arm. We'll see what happened to those living on the ground floors. May God give us a speedy recovery.
I was sleeping when my wife suddenly woke me up. The quake was very severe, very scary. We were hearing sounds from all over the place. It took almost 2 minutes until the shaking stopped.
After the first earthquake, Turkey issued a level 4 alert which calls for international assistance. The country has also requested support from its NATO allies. Among the needs listed by Turkey were emergency medical teams and fully equipped field hospitals. Hundreds of rescue teams are working into the night as harsh weather conditions add to the challenge. Many in southeastern Turkey are planning to spend the night outdoors despite the freezing temperatures. Michal, Bardavid, CGTN, Istanbul.
Now let's cross live to our correspondent Michal Bardavid in Istanbul. Michal, let's start with the latest casualty count. How does that fare?
Well, unfortunately, we believe that the death toll is going to continue to rise every hour with new statements that we receive from Turkish officials. But the latest statement that we have was from the Vice President of Turkey, from Fuat Oktay, who said that almost 3,000 people were killed in Turkey. He stated that almost 16,000 people have been injured so far. The problem is that the number of destroyed buildings is just so high. Over 5,600 buildings have been destroyed, and there are still other buildings that are reporting more damage, like about 1,400 reports of damages are available at this point, which means that there is still risk of other buildings collapsing, and therefore other people are not able to go inside these buildings. They have managed to rescue at least 7,800 people from under the rubble, so that's at least some positive note regarding the updates that we have. About 338,000 people have been placed in shelters. That means there are so many people in need of just shelters because their homes have been destroyed or are just too risky to enter at this point. They are distributing tents, pillows, blankets at this time, but of course the priority is trying to reach the people who are trapped, potentially thousands of people who are still trapped under the rubble.
Now, how challenging is the rescue operation right now? We know it's still winter in Turkey and the tremors magnitudes were way too massive.
Yes, it's really very, very difficult and challenging at this time. It's just freezing cold, it's nighttime, and just reaching those people in that time, it was already very challenging during the day, but once it became nighttime, the temperatures dropped down. It's becoming much more challenging for the people under the rubble to survive at this point, but the rescue teams are doing their best. They have been working throughout the night. Communication has been challenging because there is just too many people to reach at this time, so that has been one of the challenges. Some of the roads in the areas have also been damaged, so it's been difficult to get the equipment that's necessary to reach those rescue teams to those areas, to these zones at this time has also been challenging for the rescue teams, and their coordination is also another challenge point because there are so many different areas. They had to also cut natural gas, and they also had to cut electricity in some of these areas, in some of the quake zones, as safety precautions as well. So there are just too many factors that have made the rescue efforts just even more challenging.
So any international aid arriving at this moment?
Well, yes, there are a lot of aid teams on the way, and there are already some of them that are here. We've been told that teams from Romania and Switzerland are already at the impact zones. Teams from Lebanon and Romania are already continuing their rescue efforts in some of the areas that have been impacted. There are still so many needs, though, much more need for some rescue teams, international rescue teams as well. And the problem is that just so many different areas have been impacted with those two major earthquakes. At least 10 different provinces have been impacted, and in those provinces we see different districts around in different areas that have been impacted with many destroyed buildings. So there are just a lot of need for rescue teams to go to these different zones and carry out independent rescue efforts and to coordinate with the Turkish officials in those areas. So it's just a very, very challenging situation, but there is a lot of need for medical teams. Hospitals are already overwhelmed with the number of people that have been injured. So in the upcoming days, as Turkey also requested support from its NATO allies in those needs, it was specified that they need fully equipped field hospitals. So it seems that that's going to be one of the important needs in the upcoming days as well.
Thank you very much and take care. Our correspondent Michal Bardavid in Istanbul.